I remember seeing a lot of Shakespeare. I did a lot of Shakespeare. I was sort of introduced to it probably not until about 12, 13. I can't remember studying in the class. I can remember seeing it. That's the key. But I do remember a very camp version of Much Ado, this play with Derek Jacobi, an actor called Derek Jacobi, and Sinead Cusack. Extremely camp, fun version down at the RSC, which made it completely accessible to me. Strangely enough, in an RP voice, I'm sure it was. But it was so full and energetic that it just was an extremely appealing experience. And that was to do with the actors who were performing it, who helped me contact with that particular production and that particular play. So I remember that, and I've got the programme at home, which is great.
Well, the first time I ever saw a Shakespeare play was I went to see a Northern Broadsides play. I went to see Northern Broadsides do King Lear in Salts Mill, which is it's a great big old, well, it's an amazing building now, but it used to be a big factory and now it's an art gallery. But the performance was in the roof, so we climbed up loads and loads of stairs, and then we were in this big attic basically, and there was nothing in there except for a few chairs, and the actors were just in the space, and it was the actors, a few drums, a few costumes, and they just brought the story to life, and it was absolutely magical. And it was the first time I'd realised that Shakespeare could be said by people that sounded like me. So it wasn't just for posh people, it was for anyone. And I was really surprised that I understood the story and I understood what was going on. So that was my first experience. And it's nice because now I get to work for Northern Broadsides.
So I was at secondary school trip to Stratford, standard. But what really got me into it was because I saw Romeo and Juliet and I was about 14, I think, and Sean Bean was playing Romeo. I mean, this is how long ago it was, because he's pretty old now. And I just loved Sean Bean so much, and I got so excited. So much so that I went to see the Romeo and Juliet, loved him, and then proceeded to wait outside the theatre and stalk him for the other 2 days that we were there in Stratford. Followed him to Marks and Spencer's, followed him to the food aisles in various supermarkets. So that's my first memory of Shakespeare.
Mine was, I think I was really little, I might have been 7. And my brother, when he was at school, he was in Midsummer Night's Dream, and he was in high school at the time. And I think because it was a family member as well, but the story was so magical, and for a person of that age, I understood everything. I think more so than the adults that were in the audience. And I loved the magic of it and the language, although it was so different. And I think from then I really wanted to look at more Shakespeare plays. It was a perfect one to start with, I think.
For me, I think my biggest memory of Shakespeare growing up is the Romeo and Juliet film with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, and that.
It's just, I remember watching that and just being like blown away. And I think that's quite inspiring, like when you're younger, like. But I never thought I'd be able to do anything kind of like that. I was like, how are you speaking that language?
Yeah.
And it all I don't even remember thinking, oh, this is Shakespeare, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's how you know you're watching a good Shakespeare, when you don't really think, oh, I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was just another film.
Yeah.
I remember doing Shakespeare when I was at school in my English lessons, and I found it quite hard because of the language. And I found I wasn't very good at sitting there and reading it and trying to write essays and all that kind of thing. I found that didn't really work for me, so I was quite afraid of Shakespeare, really. And then I went to the theatre when I was about 16 and went to see Hamlet, which is possibly one of Shakespeare's best known plays. And it was amazing, because all of a sudden the language, it wasn't words on a page, they were characters, and it was full of emotion and full of, you know, jeopardy and drama. And I just enjoyed it so much. And suddenly the language wasn't a barrier, because it's a story and they're characters, and it's timeless, and it's stuck in my mind all this time because of that reason. And after that, I loved Shakespeare.
So my first memory of Shakespeare actually wasn't a very good one. So I remember being in English literature lessons at school, and we were studying Romeo and Juliet. And I remember just not really being able to make head nor tail of what it was all about, and watching a film that I didn't really like of it. And I think the problem was that I wasn't seeing it live, that I wasn't seeing it in front of me and really hearing it. I was just looking at words on a page. And Shakespeare's plays, of course, were meant to be watched, not read. And that's why I think it's so important that young children get to see Shakespeare live and in front of them, so that they can see the story played out in front of them rather than focusing on all of the words on the page. You've got to see it.